Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in. We made it to another Friday, heading into the weekend. Got a lot to cover. A federal judge has opened the door, now get this, to illegals who have been targeted using the Alien Enemies Act. He's going to allow them to sue the Trump administration as a class action lawsuit. These guys have gone nuts. This was quite interesting. President Trump nominated National Security Advisor Mike Waltz for another high-level post after ousting him as National Security Advisor yesterday. It was a fast-paced day. You're going to want to hear the details on this one. Vice President JD Vance was in Berkely County, South Carolina yesterday, visiting the Nucor Steel Plant. We have the details of his visit to the Palmetto State for you. And with just 3 days left in the South Carolina legislative session, the Greenville Chamber's Vice President of Government Affairs, Matt Wills, joins us for our weekly update. He'll give us an overview of what was accomplished this week and what's on the agenda for the final week of the session.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So a federal judge in Texas has ruled that Venezuelan nationals who have been targeted for deportation under the Alien Enemies Act, this 1800s act that we've been hearing so much about, that President Trump unearthed and has been using to try to deport the illegals who are in our country. This Texas judge says that they can proceed with a class action lawsuit against the Trump administration. U.S. District Judge Fernando Rodriguez, now he is a Trump appointee, issued a 12-page order granting class certification to the group of petitioners. Wonder who's paying for this. Wonder who's paying for them to sue the federal government. Judge Rodriguez acknowledged that while individual determinations would still be necessary to establish whether each deportee is a member of the Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, the broader legal questions raised by the petitioners are consistent across the class, he said. These include the legality of President Trump's executive order invoking the AEA, due process rights under the Constitution, and compliance with U.S. immigration law and international treaties. The Trump administration has argued that the Aliens Act requires individualized determinations and that no protected legal class exists under the statute. Judge Rodriguez, though, found that a class action is justified due to the common legal issues raised. These people have more rights than we do, according to some of these judges. On March 14th, President Trump issued an executive order declaring members of the Tren de Aragua as alien enemies and authorized their deportation under the AEA. More than 250 suspected gang members were deported to El Salvador quickly, including 238 alleged TDA members and 23 MS-13 affiliates. The judge noted that approximately 100 individuals detained in the Southern District of Texas were designated under this proclamation. He ruled that although factual hearings are needed to verify individual gang affiliations, a class action is an efficient way to address the overarching legal issues. Now, in a separate 36-page opinion, Judge Rodriguez ruled that the Trump administration exceeded its authority under the Alien Enemies Act. He concluded that the gang's presence in the U.S. does not constitute an invasion or predatory incursion as defined by the law. Let some of these gang members go to his house. Let some of these gang members attack one of his family members. Wonder if he'll have a different attitude about it then. Let one of these gang members hurt one of his grandchildren and see if he thinks that this is not an invasion, that there's not a predatory incursion. The judge stated that the executive order lacks references to organized state-sponsored action by Venezuelan, which is necessary for application of the AEA. Wow. These federal judges, for some reason, believe that these people who came into our country illegally, I don't think there's any question. I don't think he's challenging that. I think he admits that they're here illegally. He's just questioning how we return them. Now, his ruling marks the first formal permanent injunction against the use of the Alien Enemies Act for this purpose. In mid-April, he issued a temporary restraining order blocking deportations from the Raymondville Detention Center, later expanded it to the entire Southern District of Texas. The administration, of course, contends that TDA operates under the direction of the Venezuelan government, but the court found insufficient evidence, they said, to support this claim. Rodriguez emphasized that the Alien Enemies Act has traditionally been used during wartime, including the War of 1812 and the two world wars. Well, Judge, we're in a war. Our country has been invaded by millions of people coming in our southern border. You don't think that's a war? Now, the question was, will the administration appeal the case? Well, yes, they will. Yes, they did. In a minute, I've got some of the details of what Trump's answer is. But let's just stay right here for a minute on this judge allowing this group to file a class action lawsuit against our government. Wow. I've tried to think about this. I've tried to understand what their argument is, why any federal judge would want to protect these illegals, put their rights above and beyond those of actual American citizens. And I can't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why the judge wouldn't just, he's admitted they're here illegally, why he would not want them returned quickly. What due process do they need? If they're here illegally, they shouldn't be, right? So they should be returned just as quickly as they sneaked into the country. Help me understand this. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to mypillow.com, and you'll get the very best price on anything Mike Lindell has. Boy, what a week it's been for MyPillow. As Mike Gallagher and I were there on Monday, sold a lot of pillows, a lot of sheets. You can still get a great price on the Giza Dream sheets. Typically, they're $139.98 for the queen size. When you use promo code Joey at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4059, you're going to get them for a wholesale price, $69.99. King size only $10 more, $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, when you drop my name, when you use promo code Joey, $29.98. King size only $34.98. So go to mypillow.com. Let's wrap up this week by once again showing Mike Lindell and this great American company that America supports them. Go ahead. It's not too early to start shopping for Christmas. Some people say, well, I don't need any sheets. Well, buy some towels. You can always use towels. And they're the most absorbent towels you'll ever own, and they're soft too. And he's got some great deals on the towels as well. Look, when you go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, like radio podcast listeners special, and just start shopping, because you're going to see the discounted price when you use a promo code. Well, that promo code is Joey. Just that simple. I got sidetracked there, but so just leave me a message on the MyPillow message line. So back to this judge. Judge Rodriguez, his ruling, this is a major blow to the Trump administration's immigration enforcement strategy. And it sets a precedent for how the Alien Enemies Act may be interpreted and applied in a modern context. I mean, this was the secret weapon that Trump was using to be able to get these people out of our country quickly. And if this decision stands, that's gone. I don't know how we ever get rid of them. Are you ready for this? I dropped over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan, and I never took Ozempic or any of those other weight loss shots. Joey Hudson here. Before you take a drug, here's something you should know. Your body already makes GLP-1. That's the appetite-fighting hormone that these popular drugs copy. But the PhD weight loss program helps your body make it on its own. No side effects, no long-term risk, no major muscle loss, and no rebound weight gain when you stop. Just natural, lasting results. Before Big Pharma was dancing around in commercials, Dr. Ashley Lucas was doing the real work, helping people lose weight naturally and keeping it off, all without hunger or cravings. At PhD Weight Loss, you'll learn what to eat, when to eat, and how to flip your fat-burning switch without a shot. Don't trade your health for a quick fix. You can do this without Big Pharma. You can do this without drugs. Right now, the first 11 callers get 2 weeks free added to their program, 15% off when you fully commit to the program, a free supplemental bundle, and the PhD Get Results Guarantee. Call now, 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or online at myphdweightloss.com. Vice President JD Vance was in South Carolina yesterday. He paid a visit to Nucor Steel in Berkely County, delivering a fiery speech supporting President Donald Trump's aggressive push to bring American manufacturing back home, starting with steel. And he thanked the hardworking South Carolinians who work in the mill.
Who are joining us here today. You guys have got great public officials in the state of South Carolina. We're proud of them, right? They're doing a hell of a job. Now, let me just, one other note of thanks here, because I just got the tour of a lifetime here at Nucor Steel. So I want to thank Leon and everyone here at this incredible facility here, Nucor Steel Berkely, for hosting us. For decades, Nucor has been an engine of American industry. The products this company and other steel makers create form the literal foundation of American society. And I know I speak for many in the administration. Certainly I speak for the president when I say we're grateful for that. We're grateful for the billions of dollars in new capital investments Nucor has announced in just the last few months. And most importantly, we're grateful to the steel workers at this incredible plant. Thank you all for doing what you do, for building America and for making America proud.
As Vice President JD Vance standing before workers and company leaders yesterday in Berkely County. He described the moment as the beginning of a golden age of American manufacturing and credited Trump's new wave of tariffs with helping to kick it off. He said, "We're building it right here at Nucor Steel in South Carolina, calling the mill a model of what American prosperity can look like when production stays right here on U.S. soil." The visit held a personal experience for Vance. He told the story of his grandfather, who had helped raise him, spent 4 decades working as a welder at an Armco steel plant in Ohio. Touring the mill, his first ever visit to a steel plant, which is hard to believe. His grandfather worked in the mill and he never had been in one, he said. He said the experience brought things full circle for him personally. He took the opportunity to call out what he described as years of anti-industry policies under previous administrations, specifically the Biden administration, including a West Virginia steel plant that he said sat idle for years under the Biden administration's crushing environmental regulations. He made clear that things are changing under the Trump administration. He said, "We're never going to allow your job to get shipped off to a country that hates us. We want our children to grow up in a country where the things they need are made by their neighbors and not by foreigners who hate their guts." That line, of course, drew big cheers from the crowd And when he asked the crowd, do you want to ship American jobs off to the People's Republic of China, you can imagine how they responded. A resounding no. His visit came just weeks after President Trump launched a sweeping new tariff package targeting Chinese goods, dubbed Liberation Day. The policy raised tariffs on nearly all imports from China, a staggering 145%. It's what has kept the markets in somewhat of a turmoil over these past weeks. Some of the broader duties were scaled back slightly just a few days later because of negotiations. The goal, of course, according to President Trump, is to rebalance trade in favor of American workers and industries. We have been getting ripped off for years, and nobody seemed to care. Thought it was normal. It was okay. In his speech yesterday, Vice President Vance said they attack us when we implement trade policies that do a very simple thing: rebalance trade in favor of American workers and American businesses instead of foreign workers and foreign corporations. Still, as you know, not everybody sold on the strategy. Earlier this week, the Commerce Department released economic data showing that the U.S. economy had contracted 0.3% in the first quarter of this year. That's the first decline of that in 3 years. And of course, the Democrats and critics of Trump are pointing to the tariffs as the culprit. Representative Jim Clyburn, the only Democrat in Congress from South Carolina, issued a statement warning of the economic fallout for South Carolina. He pointed to the state's $87 billion port system and emphasized its heavy reliance on international trade. Clyburn, in a statement, said, "We are one of the most trade-dependent states in the nation. South Carolina stands to be harmed disproportionately." And he blamed Trump's economic performance in his second term so far as a failure. But for steelmakers like Nucor, where Vice President Vance was visiting yesterday, the Trump-Vance agenda is already getting results. The CEO, Leon Topalian, welcomed Vance to the plant and said Nucor now produces about 25% of all U.S. steel through its 26 mills across the country. The UG plant alone, he said, turns out 3.6 million tons annually. And went on to say, and in the 30 years that Nucor Berkely has been running, this mill has never been idle. It has never laid off a single team member. That says something, doesn't it? That a steel plant could be operating for 30 years and it's never laid off a single employee. Wow. Since Trump took office the first time in 2017, Nucor has invested more than $20 billion to expand its operations, resulting in more than 9,000 direct jobs and 40,000 indirect ones. Vice President Vance, dressed in protective gear, including a custom green hard hat that emblazoned with Nucor Steel Berkely and the South Carolina Palmetto tree. He seemed to be very impressed during his behind-the-scenes tour. At one point, he watched molten metal swirl in a furnace, according to those with him. And he asked, "How hot is it?" And that's going to drop a bunch of new scrap in there, he said. That's awesome. One person described him as like a kid on a field trip. Hey, one final thing as we wrap up today's show. I mentioned earlier we were talking about, of course, all the federal lawsuits trying to stop President Trump from deporting the illegals. Well, the administration did go straight to the U.S. Supreme Court, asking them to lift a temporary legal protection for more than 350,000 Venezuelan nationals who are living in the United States, which could potentially open the door to the widespread deportations that the president's trying to accomplish. The Justice Department filed the request after a federal judge in San Francisco blocked the expiration of temporary protected status, TPS, for these Venezuelans. TPS is a humanitarian program that allows foreign nationals to remain in the U.S. if their home country or countries are considered unsafe due to conflict or natural disaster. The protections for Venezuelans were set to expire on April the 7th, but were extended by the court. And, of course, the Trump administration was waiting on that April 7th deadline, ready to start deporting them. They're hiding behind this TPS. Well, Trump's legal team argued that the injunction by U.S. District Judge Edward Chin interferes with the executive branch's authority over immigration and foreign policy. In its filing, the administration claimed that Judge Chen's ruling threatens to set a precedent where courts could override national security and foreign affairs decisions, which is exactly what they're doing. Chen, who was appointed by President Obama, had ruled that ending TPS for Venezuelans would cause severe harm to families and the economy. I don't guess he cares about the harm that it's causing to the U.S. families, does he? He emphasized that the government failed to demonstrate any concrete harm in maintaining the protections. Well, the harm is we have illegals in our country using our services and in some cases breaking our laws. I'm not talking about the immigration laws. Again, it gets back to what I had said earlier in today's show. I just can't wrap my brain around why these judges want to protect these illegals in our country, want to afford them rights, and in some cases more rights than you and I have. It's crazy. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. It has been a busy week in the state capitol as we're down to 3 more legislative days next week, with the South Carolina General Assembly wrapping up this year next Thursday at 5 p.m. On our guest line today, Matt Wills, Vice President, Government Affairs for the Greenville Chamber. Matt, it's been a busy one, hasn't it?
It has been a crazy week. It's been a crazy session. 3 more days to go, but who's counting?
Yeah. You're counting. That's who.
that is right.
All right, let's kind of talk about this week. Yesterday, the South Carolina House Judiciary Committee, actually their ad hoc committee on tort reform met. Now, I'll have to admit, I get a little nervous when they have an ad hoc committee on anything, but I'll watch some of the hearing. What did you take away from yesterday's meeting, and is there still hope that something might be done in these next few days?
To answer the second question first, I think there is hope. I think there is some hope that we kind of have seen the bigger pieces of what we originally saw in 244 kind of coming together on the joint and several side. I think that negotiation point is still, kind of ping-ponging back and forth between House and Senate negotiators. And obviously some of the liquor liability language that we saw pass the House earlier this year is still alive even after today. Yeah. I think we do get something done. Exactly what it's going to be and exactly how far it goes is yet to be determined. We've got one more House Judiciary Committee meeting to adopt some amendments to look at some of the things that folks have been negotiating around on Tuesday morning. And, we'll get a final look at what the House is going to pass as 3497, their liquor liability bill that's going to have some tort language in it. So we're hopeful that they don't pull too much out of it for the overall good. I think that the House had been almost singularly focused on the hospitality industry. Yeah. That's somewhat unfortunate. It's a much bigger problem than just the hospitality industry, but it is a hospitality industry problem as well.
Yeah. The ad hoc committee yesterday initially heard from someone on the plaintiff side and someone on the defendant side. They both made it very clear that they weren't there to try to persuade the legislators in either direction, but just presenting facts. Do you have any idea, and just in talking with members of the House, of what sticking points they may have with the Senate's version of the bill? Because as I understand it, basically, a week or so ago, the Senate just copied and pasted and put their version of the bill back in the House bill. What are the sticking points, do you think?
Yeah, I think there is some pride of authorship. I think with what the House sees as their bill in 3497 in their original House passed language on the liquor liability side, they seem to think that this is something that is solely focused on the hospitality side. But again, it's not just limited to that. I think they see the broader side. I think one of the things that is a big point of frustration, I think, for folks that are proponents of overall tort reform and having a broader approach to this, is that the House has had a version of tort reform passed by the Senate for over a month, and have, until this week, has had no hearings on it, zero, none whatsoever, and then want to complain about that, not having the time to really digest this, really get the hearings on this, have taken zero public testimony on this, which is frustrating. It's extremely frustrating on our end, all the work that we've done working with the Senate to get what we thought was a good package together and get it sent over to the House. Again, their priorities are their priorities. We can tell them that 88% of Republican voters and just in the last year have said, yes, we want this as an overall option. But that has fallen on deaf ears, and liquor liability seems to be the direction they want to go.
Yep. Well, it's going to be interesting to watch. And as someone who's kind of on the outside looking in, it frustrates me to see them wait to the last minute and then complain, well, we don't have enough time. And as you said, they've had that Senate bill for a month. Well,
not only that, they've had a tort bill that was pre-filed in the House in December last year, and they've not even given it one hearing. Not a, hey, let's hear a little bit about this and adjourn debate on it. Not even one hearing. So they've had a tort bill in the House for a very, very long time that they've just not taken up. I think that's the biggest point of contention that a lot of the proponents have of tort reform itself. But I think it's going to be very interesting what we see in the final product. But look, I think if we get some of the pieces of 244 that are the bigger pieces, some of the joint and several language in this final version that gets sent back to the Senate, at least there's some hope that we get something done the last week.
Yeah. Vice President of Government Affairs for the Greenville Chamber, Matt Wills, is on our guest line. All right, so the idea of some type of income tax reduction seems to also maybe get a last-minute push here. What's the latest on that issue?
So what we've seen before obviously didn't come to fruition, and thankfully it didn't. I think cooler heads prevailed and slowed down the process a little bit on the income tax reform side. And what we've seen now, from the Department of Revenue and Fiscal Affairs, was an option given to the House Ways and Means Committee, and they heard a hearing on it last week with the director from over there, and have proposed the renaissance, if you will, of 4216, the tax reduction bill there. What it'll do is just it'll create two tiers in the income tax code, a 1.99% lower rate and a 5.39% rate on the higher end. Does not raise taxes on anyone in the short term because of the two tiers, and then eventually works us down to a flat tax. Having a one-tier approach where everybody in the state pays some sort of income tax. I think that was a wise way to do it, kind of looking at that front. And it also decouples us off of the federal plan and makes South Carolina autonomous on the tax side. looking at it from its own perspective rather than the federal perspective. So I think that's a good approach. But looking at it from a two-tiered approach is we can kind of hit those triggers down to get it down to that 1.99 flat. It'll take some time for us to get there. We're going to see those revenue numbers eventually get to that point if we continue to see the growth in the state that we've been seeing. But I think this is a significantly better approach than what we saw before.
Yeah. Matt, appreciate your time and for keeping us up to date here. And, of course, we'll check back in with you next week when it will all be in. Said and done, I guess you could say. Of course, I got to work on the budget next week, too. But it's going to be a busy, busy week, and we look forward to hearing from you again.
That's right. We look forward to getting the hay in the barn and reporting exactly what we got in.
Yep. One more thing on taxes before I get off of that. The South Carolina legislature is again looking to lower the state income tax that I just talked with Matt Wills about. The other tax reform that some have been calling for is property taxes. Would you like your property taxes to disappear? There's a movement to reduce or eliminate property taxes on homes. One state is leading the way as they just passed what may be the first in the nation elimination of property taxes on primary homes. But get ready, because there's no spending cuts, so it means they're still going to spend the money, so it's got to come from somewhere. Montana just pulled off this rare political feat, if you will, one that is rare. They are cutting property taxes for regular homeowners without shrinking the state's revenue. So how are they going to do that? And without eliminating spending. The catch, well, second homes, those beach homes, those mountain homes, or those rental properties, refineries, and utility companies are going to be handed the check because their property taxes are going to be increased quite drastically. Now, for years, rising home prices across the country have translated into painful property tax hikes for most residents. A simple across-the-board tax cut would have gutted funding for schools, emergency services, and local infrastructure, according to those in Montana. So the dilemma fueled months of heated debate in the Montana Capitol, with at least 47 competing tax proposals floated this session alone. This week, on Wednesday, and the Montana legislature is just like South Carolina's. They're wrapping things up. They're trying to get through the session. Lawmakers passed the final two-bill package that is aimed at resolving the crisis of high property taxes for homeowners, for your primary home, because they're shifting this tax burden to Montana's biggest landlords and absentee owners. In the end, it was Governor Greg Giafforti, his preferred legislation, that passed in the final hours of the session, which delivered this long-promised property tax relief. It was very, very contentious at times because you had realtors and others who make a lot of money selling second homes. And look, in Montana, you got some of those ski areas and all out there, too, of some very expensive second homes. Some of these groups were pushing back because of vacation property owners and local officials in cities like Sunburst and Billings who have a lot of second homes. But the bill, so temporarily the bill was kind of put to the side, but it didn't stay on the shelf very long because it was resurrected in the final days of the session and was able to pass. I'm not sure about that. Are you? Would you be open to eliminating the property taxes on your primary home only if it's going to if you have a secondary home or you have rental property or you own a commercial building, you know that those are going to go up drastically? Now, some of the detractors also said that by putting such a higher price on utility companies, particularly, that electricity and water and those types of services, those bills are going to go up. They're going to pass the additional expense on to the ratepayers. Well, we're nowhere close to getting that done in South Carolina. One proposal that has been suggested, which I kind of like the idea, is I don't think we could ever eliminate property taxes. I was moderating a forum just a week or so ago for the Oconee County Republican Men's Club, and Amanda Brock, the county administrator for Oconee County, that question came up. And, you know, she was very clear. She said, how are we going to operate the county? If we don't get the property taxes, then we can't do pick up trash. We can't have the sheriff's office there responding to emergencies. We can't, you're not going to have firefighters there anymore. I mean, you go through the list and you think about it. It's kind of common sense, because that's the bulk of the county budgets, and the schools are funded by property taxes. So somebody's got to pay it. We'll see. The President Trump made headlines yesterday, and this was kind of odd. He named former National Security Advisor Mike Waltz as the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Now, what's so odd about Mr. Waltz becoming the ambassador is just a few hours earlier, he was fired from his job as the National Security Council advisor. So people thought he was out when he kind of got a promotion. In a message posted to Truth Social, President Trump praised Mr. Waltz for his service in the military, Congress. He gave up his House seat in Florida to become the National Security Advisor. And then he's the one, of course, who was involved in the signal gate, and he took full responsibility. He said that he's the one who added this reporter, this magazine writer. I think it was a writer for The Atlantic, wasn't it? He added him to this signal list of people, along with Pete Hegseth and other Trump administration officials. And when that happened, people thought he probably would have been fired then, but Trump supported him. He stood by him. The president yesterday revealed that Secretary of State Marco Rubio will step in as the interim national security advisor, a rare dual arrangement. We haven't seen anyone, Secretary of State, do that since Henry Kissinger held both posts under President Richard Nixon. Waltz's departure from the NSC, again, came weeks after speculation that he was going to be fired because of the Signal chat leak. Despite the controversy, just this week at the cabinet meeting, Waltz was there. And then a few hours later, it was leaked that he was about to get fired. And a number of his staffers were fired. Now, I don't know if he'll be able to take them over to the UN with him or not. But his appointment as the UN ambassador, of course, comes after Representative Elise Stefanik of New York withdrew from consideration for the same job. Stefanik had been Trump's first pick, but mounting concerns about the GOP's narrow House majority led her to decide to stay in Congress, I'm sure at the advice of President Trump. Other names that have been circulated for the UN job included former ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, State Department veteran Eli Kohanim, Rick Grinnell, a former acting director of national intelligence, and former UN envoy under Trump. They all declined to be considered. The ambassador shakeup is part of a broader shift in the Trump administration's foreign policy team. It's a little concerning, you have to admit, that we're having these types of shakeups so early in the administration. Waltz is expected to take a hardline stance, continuing Trump's push to hold the UN accountable while making them understand that America interests are first. That we're not, Joe Biden, those days are over. We're going to do what's best for America, even if it upsets some of our foreign allies. He has a background as a Green Beret. Like I said, he served in the U.S. House. So he has a unique blend of that military, political, and diplomatic experience that President Trump has repeatedly praised. Now, meanwhile, Rubio's dual role as Secretary of State and the interim National Security Advisor adds a lot more responsibility to him. The Florida senators, former Florida senator, has already launched an ambitious overhaul of the State Department. Now he takes over the top national security post during a very volatile moment in global affairs. But guess what? If anybody's going to do it, I'm going to bet on Marco Rubio because he can do it. He can do both. But, when it gets right down to it, and look, the Democrats were quick to criticize Trump for firing Waltz in 1 minute and giving him a promotion in the next. But it really just kind of goes back to how loyal Trump is, and he puts he puts loyalty at the top of the list because he made it clear the other day that Mr. Waltz remains a trusted figure in his administration, even though, yes, he made a mistake, a big mistake. Could have been a costly mistake. The decision to name Waltz as ambassador also underlines Trump's willingness to move quickly and decisively when he feels like he needs to do some reshuffling. We'll see. It's going to be interesting, for sure. What do you think? Is Mike Waltz a good candidate for the UN ambassadorship? Text me. Email me, Joey.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.